la kila dia ni banko mole dia na kunkol kono sai banko dimol bika nyonya ta sude banko molo nyom konkoro molo ibe na kunkol kono anen tolu da malaka si nda malaka domorol kanyokang nda malaka lo saledulalto nda malaka nyotola ninsa ko nyong konkoro molo mini alanko e kasi patampan tolo ken na bankol kang imanke banko din kendeleti ala jawolo kila nyima jawolo banko din kendolo jawolo nyong konkoro molo banko molo to yala wala wana to nyala bela bana banko molo banko moli wo to nyala bela bana banko ya moli wo to nyala bela bana gammi ya moli wo to nyala bela bana banko molo na totondungol soton na banko kang iba podi na banko karo bela e koko kumani banko karo bela banko dingolo yara panyin totondungolo pente to botol kono kona manka haramuldi inada banko dingol le filindi nyin totondungolo ali nyadal moni pentru ko yolla poso madinol se sude
baadiŋol antol mini ye loŋ ko ali be lafiriŋ kenoo la kombo jaŋ kene baa kataŋo fele i be a waafi kaŋ 150 by 75 meters a be ale daamiŋ wo loŋ kombo gunjoor ti i naata kenoo ñiŋ bee sansaŋ niŋ baabu wayaal la bari maŋ naa da wo la ye boohooloo fanaŋ ka je fo kabaŋ amuntete maari niŋ ye ñiŋ kenoo soto i se a kenoo taradulaati le bari i se a kenoo gaadin baa fanaŋ te le walla niŋ ye a tara i be suulariŋ kenoo la kombo gunjoor i kumandi 793-8526 walla 341-6104 walla 734-3125 baadiŋolu ñiŋ mu kenoo le ti de miŋ ye a loŋ ko a daa be diyaariŋ anduŋ a la kuwolu be seneyaariŋ ne set ko pere kaano gam ride mbatu ngana kibar kuto fale follow albe minkela albitala app store wala google play ale gam ride la appo download ke ikafomi gam ride wala hanibi asitano la website yotole www.gamride.com badi ngolo nyinne bantaba kuto londe kafomi app dame yalon ko enen drive folo senyo moy no jele nyem bantaba to ni register taje ibe driver jama'ata la register njele nyin kamala ni laftata la tamola andong ye nyin kemin kama wolam nyinte ko tanko anen lannaya gam ride de itolbe dame wolam ba ko te tipa garasti wala hanibi ise telephone nole +220 212-1699 wala 648-6660 wala 553-3578 ando nyin durato dum wala tol min bebe Gambia nyin digital jor langodo isa joro keno wala nin apoto wala nin drive for fangonata ye kodo dum afango bolo han sayndron nata wevi sotalele jin kamala nin allafta special motor la mine yalon ko e balla dimbal sambala bengolto wala kala dindol samba karambongolto wala fale appointment on soto kata airport to nganyin service o be provider le na airport wala drive olu na lafta register la albebi ta damin wolom na kunda bati me yalon ko abe bakote tipa garage gam ride nyinna nata kata mo sone andinye lanna ya kono anin tanko ne lafta do kola anyanda kala do ku kendolati sakonin an nabungol lo fokaba nyine ya sabu KJ Glass and Aluminium Company Limited inata pour kanda handi kan nabungol kenye bunkendoluti alla sula kuolu ning anata ning aluminium stainless steel tubolo anila accessories manada wala nyinne security bundal mini alon ko kabonan toki ni wol solon dorong mobu ka woli yele no fay fam bari manada wala fananga bunkono to bundal sotale le ka fami bedroom doors inila complete frame wall aluminium bundalo puro alla jonkongolo anin kobotolu puro alla wanyolo kono fengo fenni atara wero le ka doko nganyimbe kale le kabrim famfelen dangol lomba alla fansane andi dulalto kamol mol kasiminul kan anila joran kotangol be nga floor tile fanan sotale 30 by 30 and 40 by 40 bare manna da walan kamurun ka wall tile fanan sotale le nyindi grato do ne nyim fengol sang nga luxury delivery kele wolom ka fengol samba foite fongo be dami nga murun nga free installation ke fengol le ka be pose bare fanan ne lafta project financing option na wolom nyindi ko kodo tebulu ise adomondin domondin jole nga domondin ke fo janni wato me yalon ko abe banna na nyin ko min be faleten ntel fangole kanyinul be topoto Gambia jang walla nin alafta kuma koyo moyla nyin ko beto alnan na kundato latel kunda sabiji bambo garaso nyatile wala aleta brikama Gambia College nyatile wala hani bi alin kumandi 9892570 wala +220 7892570 wala hani bi ali email kjglass@hotmail.com. Nabadi ngolo ngamobe kontong mini alon ko be jibe rola nyi watola anin mini fanambe radio lamo rola radio to butun fele wato sita wato me alon kon kananka nyim programme findandale wala mo National Unity Party NUP me alon ko Tala Abdoulaye Jamme wala mo ila nyaton ko tanu bari bi alala keroto barrister lawyer barrister Lamin Jedabo wala be party nyaton kaya kan flag bearer for the 2026 election butum bi wolle journalist olu kumandi kibar talalu kibar safelalu banko kan nyin kamala ka ila party belori min kan ka wanyare anin fanan ila programol be nyamin 2026 ila programol be tarla nyaadile bayde fanan political party de me yalon ko carte fay tambila 2021 ye dabula jele medwala Ablaye Jamme me yalon ko wolom fati NUP la first flag biarati ala ya min jodo ya bedwala fo Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala se nemo ni kiso kai kadundi jannatul firdaus yo bi barrister Lamin Jedabo wala mo parti nyaton ko tatere mo la flag biarati bi ye kibar bembale soto Search Hotel Senegambia ma fauna Adama Fadera wala tata mabe home digital toyala je ani Mengbe Kering buto nyentembo to ning enata be fintirare kibaro fanan kon la bisu kibaro bari nyenne mo da highlight and press conference oto mi yalon ko NUP wala ke wala badi mo be min kala drong wala nyindi ko ning NUP sitayla nyim press conference ola fo wato ben sula damin kala kilo blande drong ko albeda mo kan su radio la brikama sate kono jibero dum albe Mengbe Kering television on to alangal la mo fanya.
My name is Sayyidina Abubakar Jaju. I am the spokesperson of National Unity Party. First of all, I would like to take you through the program guide, what we will be discussing. Video series, so we can play in our own ways.
for the Molla, any big Kapo Moneti, and the Lord Monetan, and in Maribel Caponia to be. Or press conference in Danilo. Sakara Baki, Senor Lamay, the new Forajan, a Lodi Jampala, whatever 2 miles apart. I can see our body, I'll be Bismillah. Mafraleko, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Morning concern, what I'm going to Natala, and His Excellency Alhaji Abdullah Ibrahim Jamin, Alama Yafai, and Mrs. Saudi Tomabe. Me, I will say the one His Excellency Dr. Alhaji LAMIN DARBOE. Mbafala Bismillah. Kafumi ya tongo kurkana kafuma nai nyoma kwe kula mi ya longo banko sulari wala banko la sama woka for National Unity Party. Mune form National Unity Party. Ndaka katomani na paliji munu malong isalong ngela hakiko setaraje sama be fola momwe asalo kabase kana nyami akumara ba National Unity Party o dandal ka fura nyoma ka pati ni ta lon in August 2018 ya do ko maso wato le bari anati ka sanye fula kare saba ko ka pati ni list asel siga list party ya kada ba kati yenye mota koma bakodi mota mala ba ko fani ala yemo la ngira follow de won minde ko kati yo kati be Gambia jam moreta adiate moreta mu akuyate moreta nyaadi momo ko ka pati le lo mi ya fa ko ka pati le lo ate ba ya to kaya ni ama ko ya television imama ko ya television ina tara ñu fi wala kam ala tamit ni wala kala ni na man day boje ci so man ama baram wala fo le do sambala bang ko de sambala bi ni aji be ñim banko ala da ba banko do be ni ko na ngala sa de kino fonsi waro ko de pati jelle bi jam asiada ala kafukan do ko mo mu men lati ibadakan ile political kono ban yimbe ngane kirina solo kolom National Unity asa keno nyaade ni man na nyoka keno wala jeta ko pati yo loban mi ya no pati kala mo tati mo be se fon jako no mo be la conseil sabati mo be la ko be sabati nyaade ne ko to nyaaya sam al be si ali afo nyokan al kambe na to nyaado waylo mo be se fon jino afono mota siso kompana moye eni pilota wala kan aliba sama ka wala fana nyama ala de malu fa fele bir wala ya tinde ko ko ala ka sonya National Unity Party adamana political party yim pampo ka mi yalla ko ala party constitution ma mo banya don kay ala pour que president yagne tuta wala no ya tu do fana banko do di ko so de min do yo fana kay atambi ada mala solo jam any other political party or movement you may think of ni IGB atebula la party constitution atige kato ko mi ya samana ay wala personal interest kama national interest ka fo dare do ate sono mo nse bela ji wala fi na jere na sede am ba ko na han sa do continue ka o yar fo mon fo ma koy mi yam ma koy wala ngana ka funo ma Gambia mun ge tarati amanke mo kenen tat ala petia sura da wala ko nga jile banga won ni misala mi fala reji ni dunia jile awara da ba ni aji bi foni kebe ni banko bla di bla banko e bandal e kata ni ndiro la misi fisa ni soma e ka banko mi wali bi dunia na butu do wasi wala to afin to be wolo par mo bu ka kontan mi ka ko kana pati lo ada ko lo do ati la banko kan ni la pati siata sabana patamba hani ala fo ya fo ko ya ka nyola kunyi mala bal kabri na ba fona ama bo ni nyolo de ama ko misil molu ama ko kafiro ama ko mofin ama ko arab ama ko mokoli akole man tolo ko ngani ya ka na sara la bandu go al halo kono ya keno nyaadi le ibasa maka nyaadi ali ka nyaadi eni be ni miro la soto o bol bi ko fa nyoma ka pati yo nyelo ni ne kila lo county ya miro ta ila ka bol gambe ma ko kan adu ni ala sonda wala besar ni pati la bana ngi ko bo pati yo nyelo da ngene kilina mo kala da so le laaje ni soto do yara da sa bo laaje do da so da laaje mi nyande kala ayke ani ka pati yo register mo girma ko ndala jibo ko mo le ya ka fu nyoma ya ko asila se ma register na ta register waya tandiro ko to nyaade kan laban mo tani kirati bi mo ne tani kirati fadani ila yumidi al bese wono ko yin pati yoni aso da bala ni banko kende inshallah ko nyaade ba ko ma hasidiya ta ko no nyo bayni ta ko no wote mo bayna nodi wota so ko na no moy be ni bege kam min kam wala dol ko monte dimon ni ma bare sama ni ko ko so ta dati de ko ta se pete nya no fansi da nyola na nyom ma koy ala kila na banko jina ka tonya fo de politique mo ni ba ko ka tonya fo woni mo ba ke tore di sai ngano nganyo ne ne bula nganyo bayde lo bula ka ko ngabul ngam ko ko bula nyom no su si ka nyola si on nen ay mo le ka mi ne nyim parti lo be ko da parti lo to inara kana parti lo bara ni bi tamere mo ta platform police ni so mo fon parti lo ko amaso mi ye ko ni yo de lo be ko ba dafa ni lo min ka boko de lo be bulle imaje man kiriya o ya fa wonde ni mo lo tambet don sakana ba nga banko ni ngam ko je ko problem ni banko ni na be dan to lo ngama be dan to lo ala mala be dan ni be kila ba ko ngalo nyami bi donc ko bulata se mane ba na kono ko nyamo do ya mo be samba kan ko samba ku yaro min satinde ko nyaato wala mo ngaka fu nyoma nga nyomu daga to nyaafo nyoy min nyande kala nga woke adi ko so wala ko do min yalo ko ala nyasira nalo madi wala hako aba kantala rek wala femo ayatu ake moliye min nyande kala woke wala mi se salite to dala mi da ba adoni ala solda wor fu kata be wona dawda banko kam iselo ko fama do ma min longato ko do sa fen foyji ifana man min longado ba montene monene ko ma folyara koto min be kala tanot ata soto se hado ru baade min be wor sita dawda min fara mo woni nga def ko ñoy nga fara ñoo bayndola nga fara ñoo nengola mam ma ka tin ma fara ne man tan la faat ñun yem maraja be min ke kam du ka seriali ni ko ba bi la ba fara ba ni ko ata kunnedo bayna ka do be do ya yi wala bi na min kala ala ka toñale fasa ado toñale be laban asala ko boyndi jamal siare ne ngata pour ka modi simira dama nyendo salon NUP alo de nyaadi le ado do mu de kan ale mu la samana ado national unity be sura to wala ayat na ara baro fo mano last year ako ay proposal for the leaders of the command state house pour the national dialogue asola mo ko national leaders ko wala para kitano abedaro na sona moto adada be fulana akumfara wol akko fane te kan kumba yenga be mabe ko tanya na be do mol kalon banna do kana mol kalon o be moto be mabe te pati ko so pati leaders so ibe ka barale ko misine ni pata do la ka berale kan yama ko do bol policy no kala alma ala yam fala abdoulaye jamme ay ko ko me less than 3 minutes mo be ni wala woni ko ko nyati alama ala ke ma ko ilati eni bi ala ke ka ko ni mela man banko kam to ni 26 ngal ta no samba ngata ko ala ida mi jela ko friends ni
Thank you so much for that wonderful remarks. Next on the agenda is the National Youth Mobilization of the NUP. I got to move on to the statement. Thank you.
jadi berongo abenda dua di watch pati mo bi abenda di mo bi ndila di amo di dam ala bak National Unity Party ndo ngam mission ne ko na mission mu munete kala mi ye da ko sama State House na ni mission kan ko ma sama State House mu kam fodo mi ne keta Gambia be al halu mi ko ndo Gambia bi mo len den fam ko la malame la bangu de di ko ul ka te bangu ka ni mo mankara ite kara na ko te ni bangu ka ko to kamala mo bidan ye den fansas la Gambia di mo na wuli na du nyo ko no ka je ko ngama sa ku la ka ya ka bu mo ne masa ku na mi den la bangu ko mes masa ku na le mi ya lo ko fo na e mo ko ra bana amamo se woni impress do mo ta na dayo bi people store ndiki da mo bi dan akai do kana bi aboje to ko ka dan tar amira ka dale ko bi don tan lulu ni fe imba ko ya Gambia bi wolle ka wona mo be kan ya di mansala ay wuri tilifula wala logo ti a jani logo na ina waya tara tebe suwo ko no be konkori mbaadi mo be suwo ko na be konkori ite ka do kuna min do ite na pata aseti o to ni to si daga Gambia di ay o silo mu ta faja di mutuma to Gambia bi mo famu na hako so do yoyende na hako so do na second generation e o to wala ndan ko National Unity Party na mission ne so do ha ko mission ma fu dan dia be Gambia ta na dundi buri ni ma ko nenta dina buri ni ma ne ko wala dan e dabo ni be do ko dina mo na do modi amarila kana do modi terila ning londo tege ndiro tege ala nyasila na tege ni e banko di ala do banko de dikabe abe dune nani ni wote mole ni aji de to lam Gambia kabirum sandi tandur ko ma jawala la jamanu mbe karankani mambo na be ya jamela sandi mo ni funa mambo ninne famo gena ko liata be ni be moden sanji tan sama ko ma sanji mo andi fula ko ma be ko liata gari ni be moden da ko ma te mo ko liata da to mara me na musude jambi ya sawo soto security la karo musude hani la ko findi kata la la lobita do fe bo te lobita do ko ya de ko di ko ni wal al na to na fo yoy Gambia bi mon fangol le mun fanja wolti bin si ofo abe diala do le de mo ba de diala do le ba na man diya mi le kana di kat e man sakunda be lori parola man sakunda e kam fan sun diwol ta e kan na Gambia kat ndama mol chele because di minister minul be ka kuma kamol fo kan do ka baro di fe ka kuma bal fo e man baro ma ko e man tara ka baro ma ko e ka fay do be bita kan nyame wala di desilo le ka waya tara na boro ta do he na boro tege ndu yemi minister da ko mo mi bori dika million tan ni fe nda bi da mando mo de nda ga na bori te ga no la ko so ma be ya e presa ma ya wuli ko ka ka ni mo le ka da ima be be fe mo fe na tiyo da mo fo se no se na ye wala lo so wala ni la kin konti bari tiyo da mo fo tiyo la price mo fo tiyo be sanda min na wo mo fo bari kuma ken se no do wol de fo ka Gambia fo ni manke bala hatiba bari hanin bi ndo Gambia di mon fale ne ka bulo ko fi ngo baro mba fale de ko ngande nga keje ndolle ka jo ndolle ka fe do fada woto men nyanta fula be fole ko amantara Gambia no nyaafi taka ndo la famille na president mo binde sina wala la mi je da do ala nyaafi taka wala ni sina ala nyaafi na ala ni Gambia do ma bulu aba sambala pilimo ani tembo because ni luamu ay wolo ne fasit moto fulay ni londo moto fulay woto ani de mbulo la dula kili nga banko ci kaka bi ala ban de ka min ni sa soto na dindu wala kala mol sibedia mbama nyote fala lo tano kono ko de drog min ka dun nim banko ta dindu wal bil ka wuli ka ta bagwe ko de to ra kale ma be de la banko ko de dan nyanto ko menti ma soto no iba soto la banko jumai iba soto la banko jumai woto be mo be dani la diamo te jampale Those are party drop National Unity Party naka ye mission nation. One mission of Mumenti, William Kalami Jeda was some state house. Kanka Mafuda, Uganda, Gambia, my general National Unity Party, 2026 election of Makalane, and to alliance with the big character Sandy Saba, with the Gambian, Salim Bagina Gambia.
Berfluling kesimpulan yang bagi malam ini. Alhamdulillah, thank you so much. I command you to do my I don't want to see the companies are coming. The president, I am always not interested in serving people. Who is more interested in remaining in power than doing the actual job. But I think every reason and reason to make sure we change the narrative. Welcome, Mina Mokoro Makimana, Kasimbo Yamana Bankoro. Is actually the National Youth Mobilizer of the NUP, Honorable Alim Jani, Kavai Kabiro, Kavai Dama, and this one is a
¿Qué vayamos sur en Aris?
Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alamin. Makala tentu anda bicara ini, anda pula sila bila. Ka National Unity Party dungol biyo ko ngal tentu ngal jai milik ada parti durati during August 2018 kana fobi ngala tentu bake. O time o parti ñu kono ntel ma beti dungo janina dula no binala sena ko karjami. So that's why I came to take this position to become a national youth mobilizer, the whole country. Now, from Kolbe Kondon, journalist will be Kondon, Mama Bilal from the Kondon with the head of the decision tree, another delegation, and then over the Dawada, Kanan and Kanani press conference in Taka attended. In Kamala, Sewa Water Paki, and now water. Then I'm Nago water. Nenyu kumpana jibe dambia jibe fronike la basiarinda inada mila kama yala samana je yala sunolo di hamo warane kabu fronike lo the backbone of this country e bango bangu de dunia daoda fronike la makokilo makokilo dunia dire na alfa folo ya kata pake bere kabana wala moda kanapo ya jame obiena nang president Adama Barrow. But near beach, we present some of the attending Gambia be Alhamdulillah for Nikiru, Patarin Party, for Nikiru Patarin and for Nikiru Musida Sierra Party. But okay, let me that's okay. Near GBB, Name press conference among the rally. So, let the moment that Sierra Park, Molkundi, Molbasinola. And the beautiful element of the Bambuka. Negambe GBB technology, more punita Baba Ket. Esa Molin no Kunu Commando, Wabu television of black and white man for run paper. But be Alhamdulillah, technology water more punita Munya and Donitio Sara in Bambuka. Near Donitio Sara in Bambuka, people are very educated in this country. But Nina IGB, it other way around, Nerondo Train Faka. Ne usual to be military when you must have the present government science and the Milan electoral meeting, you must also with their degrees, bachelors, they are not helping the youth in this country. They are interested in the keyboard, near the National Unity Party, being flattered in Kembo the B, Ale Modum Bulu, Casamana, more important Bulu, Alaman, and Capercala, Mbasirin Bamira, by Joseph Carnadi, but Alatum Maserati, Mira, no John Kudola, Conotan in Band, or an important Yago B, Sunomi Benkankuno be a fair. Mina affair, the other more than the B, a quite a Gambia Better Ho. Nimin Baker Banco in Policia, Yaoya. Bill Lumform and Nancy and then I started by my president, Lamin Geda. I don't need Banco President. Minbije, Obe Sambacano, but the President President. And Nadia Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Alabama. Mola Mimada, I am welcome. I Balafaso, and the Boludi Mole Sudan. Here, Remaro, Lamjeda Boludi Mole. Never that in Bankunino. Alla fora advance na moko ko na no ala mi advance na moko ko ala ko ka ke so dila over the night ndala na nyem faade bi momo sa service 2026 ni ko bilo campaign o banda so mo wota la pulo ala ko gambero be so no mo fanno mo be ba dina la so we are achieve huge population here this present government near useful to la power industry ni la most of the youths are industry mina barandi all inclusive. Usually, if the Senegal may give you hotel is one of the best hotels in Gambia. For I give it, there's no tourist, the tourism partner. And most of the youth, they can benefit from tourism. Neither of us, secondly, 20 euro at the airport. I can't even a drive for Nikan and even any Mokunse Kanana. You pay 8,000, just come in. The Basira will say, you're going to 16,000. No dealer more man for Jamal Sanya. So that 20 euro for I which will affect it, and people are not coming to Gambia. So will be affected. Neither they are the community like Gunju. You know, Busumba, Farah, Lamin, they don't have a very good park. And we already sports. Just look at Sadio Mane and Bambal today. More killing, I bombard vehicles, I bombard the Yaboda, for bombard down Sadio Canal. So when I get that in power, I know will stand for the youth. It will help all those things. Because now you must have number CDP, the Yanato Combola. The Quaker Canadian Dami, Bagella Mapeka. Combo, there's no football park here. And we want to look at the employment now. Aba min dun become big but one person won't go. So many of them are so good and must go be double and they are still at their palace say you are happy. Are you happy? No. We are definitely happy. That's just a word, so you can mind the play. And no more exactly can be all. Honey Chapo my candidates but never again. So it's enough, it's enough. I think the courage can never look at for the friends will bad will not do them get up. Yeah, you had a more life from your legacy. Be never understand the Alhamdulillah in Sabanul, but in the father being come Americanana, Ningetu in this new collaborative, it's not helping. So therefore, Nikel Hulida, Nanya, Nagion of Bankodu mobile member Nafal and not Bankodu Marquet. This man is enough. And education is get education, and travel wise a Kamata. Nina Flora again. So neither Bankodi in your own state collection. Nkabankodi mo le no korama na ni kaso woto le kana nkabankodi ka kadi ni sekele ko somebody is at more across the clan agent a current collect ite ma yana da yunu ya ba manya to be ta ko kila sino ko na ya ba bare so granda I would love the front ka di minister ko ni la mi geda won ala na doke and inshallah ma di ko ala ko kala ala be dunna ni ala be ko ya ba na ko mo fe ni na mo mala ba da mo kala mo da NUP is bigger than any other party in this country. In the sense that we become more in front of the campaign of the grassroots is very dangerous. We have been support me can account. We have to go more than but people more than can do one of the local. Lumine banu ko more ban, the banu ko do ka full defend. I'm ala kanyo nyama. Which what stay out la mi dira my yena family members on the amu ni nga ale banko do nyimbudu mbok mo do fon dem from mo tebere tamu for ka fini kala pa ba ko is so sad ko riba finde ta ba ko ene mo ko reta nyomal sunga ro si ay man boro tan san ay kuba ni kete be jakal no febula fa ga so ko reta anu do ko ni na kala jero ko na fonni ke nyaje o da vera maka ke ko dera ko mo sa mo do ko ko rende ngana jal muso fana ko ton ba ka na delegation no ba ka ni ba ni banko rauna ya fu mulo bon lam jeda ko almane nas ci mali jara ken ni rek do fala sa frandi ale ba ko do abul mo rat ko gala mo na fa mo ala ma da fi ñoo na ma
Matagal lagi.
Thank you so much, Ali. The next one on my agenda is myself. I'm the spokesperson of the NUB. We're giving a very brief statement. Then I'll be discussing on
Huh? Man.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll be speaking in English. At some point, I'll also be just balancing the other countries. But I think it's important for us to talk on, to speak on our national languages so that people that are listening actually understand the kind of message that we are sending out there. First of all, I'll be talking on the NUB selection process. Since the appointment of Dr. LAMIN, His Excellency Dr. LAMIN, there has been a lot of speculation in the social media space, and then in the general public. People are trying to kind of like understand exactly what led to this decision. Like we've been finding ourselves in being, if not one, in fact, I'm not going to use the term one, we are the most organized political party in this country. We are different, and our approach is absolutely different from other conventional political parties in this country. And I'll tell you why. First of all, the NUB prides in what we call a head-hunting exercise. Now, what we will do is every executive member is either elected or appointed, depending on the position as enshrined in the Constitution. These executive members are given the prerogative to go out and fetch, to go out and do what we call, head-hunting exercise, to look for people out there. Because if you look at, what the Deputy National Chairperson explained here with regards to how the NUB was incepted, these people that started this movement, this revolution, they passed a resolution that none of them is going to take any leadership roles in this country. For a simple reason, they do not want people to take ownership or to feel they own the party. If you look at most parties in this country are dying out because their leaders refuse to either leave or they are known. These are some of the things that we wanted to destroy in our politics. Because we believe our parties are supposed to be owned by people, not individuals. Now, after this headhunting exercise is concluded, because we usually have a time frame, this list of people will be nominated at the level of the executive. Then after this nomination, their names are presented. What we do is called consultation. This consultation will send a team out there to go and meet those people, discuss with them why the NUB needed their service. Because it is no more about party, it is no more about individualism, it's about country. After these consultations were made, or have been made, the party will involve in what we call a background check. Your Excellency, excuse me, because we didn't inform you that we actually conducted a background check on you. But it was a very rigorous process. In that background check, we look at certain things. First of all, we look at your level of integrity. We look at your education wise. You look at your faith, it's very important. Coming Deputy National Deputy National Chairperson mu memman sila nale banku sika ali abia ase dunya wona amale besoma because amalo ko soma nale fat ala bare kidina wonon tol ko be moy tambi na me anga ala nya sila musu am ninga banku la femo sika na diala aba marla anyata marla nya karu people need to understand one thing. Don't let man say the president they are doing anyone a favor. Do kulala me ya ko na ka do mo ni to do na do sika na diala so coming after this rigorous background check, then it comes to the decision-making process. It's usually very, very busy at the level of the NUB. Because this facts will be presented, people will look at it from different angles until we agree on a candidate. If we do not agree, that means we have to go to elections. But normally we do agree on something. Because in the end, our drive is all the same. Then after someone is actually agreed on, we conduct what we call a vetting process. Now this vetting, the individual will be invited to our party headquarters, like we did with His Excellency Dr. LAMIN. We will engage you in not necessarily a debate, but a discussion, a dialogue, kind of like understand who really is Dr. LAMIN from himself. Because even in the court of law, just the last time I was talking to someone, it was like, so even in the court or in any investigative process, the person that is under investigation have a right to give you the opportunity, to kind of like defend himself. The same thing implies here. The person that you are appointing, you need to give that person the opportunity to speak to the people, to understand, firsthand who that person really is. After that vetting process comes the appointment. That is our selection process is usually complete. Now people can argue, people can have different mindsets as to how practically, how pragmatic it is. But for us, we believe this is the best process. Headhunting exercise is usually just look at our workplaces. People that are actually, taking from somewhere, great and nurtured, are usually, better service deliveries than the rest of the people. The other thing I'll be discussing on is some cardinal principles of the NUP. Why the NUP is a unique brand. Let's look at the leadership perspective of the NUP, like what I just explained here. Mulle ni patiolo. Kabiri ke patiolo. Eko tol bele patiolo. Moti je meya alum ka patiolo alum kaya. Kaatu intaya intiya la takore kuni kame kuni koko. Just to tell you, Dr. LAMIN is not a founding father of this party. Kabiri patiolo it takes us to the second cardinal principle. It's the People's Manifesto, the manifesto. Patio was funded in 2018, but it was released in 2020. There is a 2 years gap. Now this 2 years gap, what the NUP executive did is what we call data collection. Now model ki banko rotari, itara banko be tama. The government mo yininga apoli amel alla banko ni kamara nyadi. That's what we call it bottom top approach. Karon dobe la ni ngela ko. Buko wala kitabo menye na ka banko ma. Womo anyata me mara nyata council to la. We conducted this data collection process and information collect. Of course, we consulted some subject matter specialists, not a manifesto, what the People's Manifesto. Then it takes us to the third one, that is our governance structure. After the National Unity Party is the only party we enshrine calm limits in our constitution, both in government and in opposition. That is to say, Dr. LAMIN is going to serve the good task. And I know for a fact that inshallah, come 2026, he's going to win his first time. And then there is what we call separation of party from the state. Politics of patriotism, politics of patronage, what is the Gambia? There was a time after 2016 election. Alpha Balbi si no bambu kambia longo ye nyini ka bwa le kare to mala ke dula ka ko abe na patio ko ngal stro bloke. And I am unapologetic about that, which we believe is wrong. Ntol belare ni na ko man sakunda palaso su be merit base anja ka mo di me alon ko ay do uno ay do ko kalamuda a do nos. Wala ya ke ntol ko bi nim to ka na fa State House. It is not incumbent upon him to go carry the NUP upon the Palaso de la Force Honey. I've been more to a Palaso de la Mumma, because I'm going I don't know, Lundo Senata, Nai Banco de la Asadu, or Nai Palaso de la Asadu. That is very, very rare. Because Latamina only need to go Mulsa understanding Banco in Portugal communicating. Now, people might ask the question, can you build a Mumma? What we are going to do as a party is don't let me become the first watchdog of his government. We are going to help him provide. Now, on a quarterly basis, my invited to the NUP headquarters. It's only going to be a member. The congregation will be led by the national chairperson. The main campaign promises the team. We discuss on certain topical issues. Your Excellency. Now, more promise A, B, C, and D. You may not know for the Masakunda, not in a problem. Not a man big, akumata bage mo meli alon ko yemu dana ko state house ya ma ba ta banko do ko nya also brings us to what we call national unification because na jere na deputy national chairperson of the Mengbe Kering akumata bage ko mo da on start dan ko beta même beta de ka ko me common denominator is Gambia la ñaato ta be sunni famema abe sunni ñom ko la abe sunni ñaato ta ko the only thing that can bring this is national unification. So in the party, we pride ourselves in that. The name National Unity Party came into existence. Or until we will prioritize how we reconcile our nation, how we heal our nation, post the dark eras of, what we've been through for the past years. And then again, we will do what we call decentralization of government. Most of our government officers are in Banjul. Yet, one message in Bori Banda. Wo fama mesiri mfui wo fuyo mesiri dongorba fate mangra so ko kama sa kuna filba we believe in Gambia irrespective of wherever you are you should feel the presence of government wala ke den tobra bi bo no decentralize ka make so momoro ni beda wada isa man sa kuna ni kala anu adabe wol ko man sa kuna ko so dem move from the center to the periphery that is ke bundi banyu ni kombo kono. We also look at what we call women and youth empowerment. Now, funding for the national mobilization. Funding to empower the. And if you talk about empowerment, I won't get the of the workshop organization. What am I is not enough? Musol the backbone of our economy. Musol the motivate to Canada. Musol the motivate to Yimbango Mura. Musol the council will show. Musole ngol tekya odo musole mele ngo banko be wole bulo akumata ba ko mol masakunda so musole do nyala me ya lo ka musole ba last time I'm president Baroka I forgot exactly how many millions of dollars I mean dedicated for 10 million or so I mean dedicated to Kadi Musole it's a funky one I think this is just political bi ne ko rosiga bi mo la ka ko taye fo ma ko na ko da do mo wala fi ta ko siro ko le that is why National Unity Party a funding mechanism is very sustainable, like in a microfinance sort of. Veango musolbe dula so in funding ke kukataji, ye soto keji, membe loans la bani loans avec la grants, so loans, grants or subsidies, par loan. Mais alors que musol de mala, pour se dontoro keji, ye ta doku ke, ye doku ke. How avec la loan depending on the nature of it, because more people get into that problem. Avec la fin du bien, avec la interest free. The next one, we will have to get the funding la carola as an enough corrotary as a fan. And at the done we also conduct training on their respective area of specialization. Come move around the Mayanga, a coach, a mentor, who will not do when you better than Minna, Abekala Garden no Bolivar, Abekala July. The offer the Mayango Musula Kakamulako. It's a Apollo Yama Fanaso, but in Lula Kaku, we say from and most importantly, we talk about the fund. National Unity Party ka soto ke mundu. Ni aje parti jama be nyam bangu kanja. Ila soto e be jikini molle la ba. And most of these businessmen or people outside Melka Kuro do the political ko. Have people with special interest. Mon mera is not offended again. B. President Bola even formally in 2016. Most important in 2021. I got a businessman on level 2. And I can tell you for free. It is one of the reasons we are not married to Senator, Domuro Koleana. Everything is skyrocketing in this country. Karum businessman or someone that has a special interest on what you're doing. I put dealer. Put your doko kalum political. They put it about Josela. About Josela Dami one in Nakamano Mena Felan Gambe. Wala ka sumo men fenanja. Wala ka duli no nim computer no ninja men fenanja. Aba bongira wo. Worondoko manyena ka bangu de montora. What the NUP prides itself in is what we call internal resource mobilization. Binyadi when you teach about LAMIN reform, it's from their own pockets. The program of the but it didn't see the blow for you. Nigo party you have more than executive program. Executive for the general members, and of course the diaspora. Well, can blow for you. Some of them independent party of the Kuru la Kamalaka, Pontibuto, and Kakanazona. Kumata ba ko dem no same cardinal principles understand from the NUP control ngab do ko kete Lakuma labo me lakuma kumfara dami election on fera Gambia dingol alin nak ñaay Gambia dingol there is no president that is doing anyone a favor. We voted them into office, we gave them our rights, we gave them our security for them to give us back development. And development encompasses everything. Woto mobe saka undana wela voting wala bila symbol. Iba dula dawada will determine the next 5 years of your life. Nata dula ka puno continue ka dunyim barako. Woto ngakabesa ngali ara baro. Banila ka dunyim barako no bi. Karama e sone yambu. Fengo be sone. Do mo fengo sone. Musore la suto ka ani yeda kala nyame. Fo nikele la fengo sone yeda kala nyame. Woto alina na kabesika na di His Excellency Dr. LAMIN Asali banko marani linya nda bana so ro kamala ya musiata mbemo be kondo na potene na militant so mel ko jang journalism ni di executive of the independent kan mo be kondo ka je na thank you very much. His Excellency Dr. LAMIN. Your Excellency.
Okay, so yeah, we're for a system of funding. We will call a system of funding, or system of the but we are currently the Masakunda, we pull the new country to come in with care. Balunya, Fanam, GPI. I mean, constitutional security, we are on for us a Jama. Very memo country, or a million country, or the million of the Korea and Bangkok. Arhania dan Gambia Masakunda or Gambia Bangkok, Saudi Arabia Kodola people, or United Kingdom Kodola people, or America Kodola people, in system of the Kodola people. So signing more than you should know now when the family. So I must take into now when I for that linking lesson. Bangkok and come from. Maybe Bangkok address inclusive and the fire for Kamala and more patient income and the more manner is a translation of the world they have in front of them. So I'm going to statement on the is Deputy Chairperson of the NEP, Executive Committee members, the membership of the National Unity Party, the Fourth Estate. These are the curious people who are standing before us here, the journalists, distinguished guests. We are gathered here for the opening ceremonies of election 2026 and to celebrate the widely acknowledged vision that is the NUP, clearly the NUP is a union party. In the sense that the party's founding fathers made a decision, a deliberate one, that nobody should take ownership of the party as if it is a personal property. The NUP is supposed to have it. It wants national project, a party that is a national project. So, in that regard, I'm very happy to associate with the NUP as the Deputy Chairperson, distinguished members of the audience, members and supporters of the NUP. I take for granted that no celebration may be considered complete if done in isolation of recognizing the party's architects and more inclusively its expanded group of sustainers. As a project in process, I now petition this gathering to applaud the NUP for maintaining its pride of place among the great parties of this country. When I accepted the invitation to lead the NUP as party leader, Secretary General and 2026 Flight, I did so for the primary purpose of engaging the minds of Gambia on a crucial matter of timeless significance to humanity in general and to Gambians in particular. I take no issue with the proposition that a full, vibrant and complete community must have its myriad constituents, such as its scholars, entertainers, other artists, sports nationalities, blue and white collar workers, farmers, informers and agitators like the media with us here, even its myriad of habitual offenders, and against generally accepted social and legal norms. I also accept the proposition that no society can even begin to approach completeness in the absence of explicit rules which are understood by and applicable to all jurisdictions. If you state that differently, what I'm saying is I accept the contention that no society can meaningfully endure in a climate where lawlessness pervades the spirit of its working life. And these notwithstanding the existence of all other components for a full, vibrant, and complete community. Say, for example, Gambia has, like I said, the resources of a country like the United States. With lawlessness, those resources will go into humans, those resources will not be of any benefit, meaningful benefit to the country. So that in itself really is something to be very afraid of. At this stage, there are no prizes with guessing in transiting team to governance on the road. Governance on the road. Not Italo Mansati, I am the king and all that. You know, there is no king in the Gambia. We have a president controlled by a limited Republican government. So that is different from the Mansa. We should remove that level from our discourse, or at least at the level of the governance, at the level of the presidency. The president and his advisors must desist from using a word like that. I shall not, because as a concept, the rule of law, and that is really going to be the key to develop this country. We must abide by the rule of law. So the rule of law is one of those political and governance principles whose ostensible embrace by dictator and democrat make it susceptible to perverse interpretation and the confusion naturally attendant to that abuse. Yes, everybody says you are abiding by the rule of law, but when you see the rule of law in action, you can recognize that. It is just a platitude, trying to convince yourself that you are doing something good, well, that's for you, that's your business. But we know when the rule of law is existent in a particular situation, we know when it is not. At this stage, what we need to do is give some practical demonstration to what the rule of law entails. I'm going to the United States to give you this demonstration. The text of my speech will be made available to the media. So you will have the text. You can do what you listen to. Otherwise, I will make that text available to the media. It's not in paper form, so I'm going to have to get your WhatsApp contacts or something, email or something like that. The Deputy Chairman, distinguished members of the audience, I'm happy to state that some of the thinkers who considered the concept argue that the cardinal element of the rule of law stands on the proposition that no person should be punishable except by distinct breach of the law established in ordinary manner before the ordinary course of the law. As the doctrine is substantive in nature, the point cannot be overemphasized that the rule of law is not about promulgating process of law, adhering to the formalistic niceties of bringing legislation to the statute books. On the same close reason, another cornerstone thesis of the concept states that no person is above the law. Now, that includes the highest office in Islam, the office of president. So no person, no office is above the law. That every person, whatever his or her or condition, is subject to the ordinary law of the land and amicable and amenable to the jurisdiction of the ordinary tribunals. I contend that the assumption in the foregoing is the clear suggestion that for the rule of law to attain in a jurisdiction, there must be a separation of power in the subject life. Simply put, the entity that promulgates a law should not be the same, should not at the same time interpret and enforce that law, as that is tantamount to inventing a formula for arbitrariness and abuse. I accept that there is nothing to stop us from discussing the rule of law in the abstract, in a pure academic context, so to speak. From where we stand as a nation, the immediate and extended audience should gain some appreciation of the genius and the fantastic wonder of the principle responsible for the existence of a tremendous human and material development gap between societies populated by the same human species. So, coming to the award of Mexico, Marano Liano have been doing more than so kami sa ini ngajar lo, itu yang mereka bilang betul. Dan bangku pada wajib ini beri konflik bangku itu. Bangku wajib ini apa no? Amerika wajib ini. Bangku wajib ini Kingdom wajib ini, Western Europe wajib ini, Canada wajib ini. Semua nanti difatwa oleh fatwa menjadi wala luati, kita luar kota, luar orang yang punya daya. So, when I think I need a boy so much, then trouble dole, Diwali, brothers, in the Burali and Bali, but we take a lot of Bible there. We go to Bible and facility. I don't have control, I'm on facility, one to reality. I felt them get by over to Bible and then the San Sancho, it's a bit of darling genial to Bible and Mengbe Kering to Bible and to Bible and not so much about it. But it need be more simple when actually done what that about new Bible that I can't go to it. Gambia no Jamaica, If Banco Banco near to Banco and Banco, Jangan ini kesalahan bukan boleh dan orang boleh kita example. Saya mungkin hari mati dan mati. Problem of the damn system boleh. Ibu Banco itu become any system boleh Banco. Banco ini ada boleh yang boleh itu dan Banco. Imagine boleh jangan siapa kasih mana Banco. So, for a dramatic demonstration of the rule of law, whether we're moving into I suggest we foray into a systemic challenge to and dedication of the concept in the United States. The trailblazing jurisdiction of the all-encompassing principle of the sanctity of the human person. For the discernible observer of modern international affairs, and we have many in this immediate audience. The United States has a complicated record. Kenya, America GD, another Bankutumal Kenya, Kamararo Kenya, Alhamdulillah, Womararo Kenya, Manghai, Bankutumal. Sa ako na Amerika Chile ka Tripoli ka Chata mo ka on to niya na sa yon ka to sana ba ko menti wala menti ko lua sembo wa ito mo na pangko wala mang sonyo na konti American man selbo. Sonte ko mo president, dali sonte ko mo president ya yo ko be mo. President lo militi ni ya ko ile luwa. So sai sai jibe ko le kada American no ya ka wa ta so without pressure, societies may be substituted for individuals in the contention of Italy's Renaissance luminary and humanist philosopher Pico Milango. The effect that humans place at the center of the universe have the power to generate into the lower forms of life, which are brutish, or be reborn into the high forms which are divine. So in the for young mirror lalo majors, so you will give it to my father at a Italian knowledge. Because I put over the Miranda. I mean for what I'm going to say, I never do it. It's a canoe for it. It's a canoe pay out to, but you know how to make it. But it's a canoe venti for the way I don't see city of the other. Being young on the back of the table. I never do one day with you, but in you one and down call that you are going to crucify I challenge you to juxtapose any Western democracy against the predominant opposition proportion of African countries and decide whether you observe the same level of respect for the dignity of the human person when considered in the domestic context. So I returned to the United States. I read this in but it's all about the rule of law and about government. So that is the principle. If you take any lesson out of it, it should be about a nation or to governance. I come to the United States and married a Florida woman and her ordinary family for a classic amplification of the positive magic of the rule of law. At the center of the Teresiano controversy was a severely brain damaged woman whose husband went to the Florida State Courts to have African children removed on the ground that she would not have liked to be in dignity of what is known as a consistent constitutive state. The courts agreed with the husband, notwithstanding the strong protestation of the Sicilian's parents against removing her African children. We hope that she will be caught. Defiance, and for the purpose of legislatively stating the Florida State District Judge's order and have the feeding children station. Governor Bruce of Florida engineered and set what came to be known as Terrence Law through the Florida legislature. On a legal challenge, the Florida Supreme Court declared the law unconstitutional. And the United States Supreme Court declined to hear the appeals of Florida. And Governor Bruce, with all his ostensible power and influence, was decisively defeated. So Mengbe Kering, Florida, America, Bangkok, was all doing the Quran South Carolina, Malam, from Mengbe Kering. So, Tata, Kisi Kuman, to Kafako, a can you be done by Fenko Yimka, I don't know such a thing for that year. Banda Musoma price Badu Bania Sifa, Alfaz Manson. By what President George Bush, a product being like Governor Bush, tell them Florida government. So I take work that I know when I'm Yuanji or Ikana so we are challenged in the Supreme Court, Florida Supreme Court. So very tactically, when you have a constitutional so you have vacate, when you have cancer. American Supreme Court, one mention so Governor Bush now assemble Benya. Ning can be a long secretary of the top. And Lua the magic movement come up in the court. And we are usually in a bank on Parafilms Yataki. Where Kamun protect, don't hear, and then the minister of the public, the more they gave it out for himself for one secretary. But my secretary. Laptapuraya understand you must say told me, Masakudai told me, this is something Kitty already, so Kitty. President Wayapum budgeted by National Assembly, I summer Supreme Court Assembly. At our by the we are saying that the Supreme Court go away from the open. What do we do? I think do a time or whatever. So, very good of Florida. Ning came in Sempetala, I won't state level, according to Germany, the West Coast region. So, very better water, it has a federal level, one President America, President found, Mandulano, it has a water. One assemble from President Carolina, from Deputy Carolina, no more than whether the President Yala, where the Governor Bush in the Florida, but the President Yala, often I will work in the that I had some American Congress. So, Congress, what do you mean for the so, can do what so, according to the state courts, the federal court will this issue, and upon appeal, the plaintiffs, 11 cited court for things that are in the lower court, without comment again for the second time. The Supreme Court of the United States declined to hear the matter. In the final analysis, the children feeding children free, and the seal will die in 2 weeks. Kela Kamalota, I live on board President, I live on board Ogun Safari when they came over, Kijibun, Toya Party, one who young raised up but I think so Mr. Distinguished gentlemen and ladies. As the United States is a secular society, I urge that you relegate your religious views and the matter universities of your mind and consider this hard-wrenching case on the principles underlying the military in a modern democracy. So, I give you a campaign by the Alon. But the minimum rule is to be along the bump of the campaign in London. So, the name fitting over the world, but in Charles Court, courts will decide again to care about it. The other control the African. So, in the performance of this case, was not assigned function. The judiciary at all levels of the American federal system. It's to the combined of the bearing pressure of state and federal legislative and executive power and apparently welfare. And to think that those decisions originate in a single judgment conclusively confounds the inherent logic of the rule of law. So I think Lua Kaman Abe Kumputo, Egantano, Niamoy Morin, Masabiga. That's what we have here. I don't understand that. I'm certainly hearing me and state and federal politicians at both the executive and legislative arms of government accepted defeat and moved in 1405. When all was over, they embraced the result and characterized it as a victory for America. City boy, Muslim came up, and then American president, Governor Florida. Then go Banta, go see how they think it. Well, it's under Bronco, lawyer than the one, so do I accept what then you come at some point. I submit to you, ladies and gentlemen, that adherence to the rule of law is the foundation upon which nations survive or collapse. No matter what its pressure, the resources, a nation that fails to impress the rule of law, as some nations are going to accept. Under even the most ideal of conditions, it must ultimately collapse under the slightest test. So, coming from young women to go, Banco la Franco Barcelona, Natal Marabaya, Luan Bigatama, India Tenano, Body, Kawoda Mali, Open was Talula, 18, one of the I contend that racism and its attendant causes standard. Fellow citizens chose Europe and America for the compelling attraction that except for the vagaries of random criminal activity, there is no issue of being a victim of state legislative disappearances, killings, unlawful detentions, and frozen economic opportunities, or merely having the temerity to freely articulate your thoughts. So, Jay, nothing but racism, see if I think it's for see if I can find something to have a little bit of what I'm going to not any more than just I love the program as a very much a good answer of the time. But if we can more I can't know, but only it's a back about the side of the so the overriding objective of the 2026 presidential election must mean that the nation elects a bill, not a person who views number one as a place, or something means, and the sake of the core basis of the New Atlantic voters. I'm coming forward to need to clarify on the 2026. Banco Ninka Mori Gandela. Nila Longo, as a Banco Dada, Banco Dada, Tinianta. Monument is a system of building. One of Monument Longo, Yanji vote the president. More pay water, Laban, the mine. Avoko, meaning in that number carrying on Hani, not about Posapano, they can be fire, Ganyeta. It's only from the government must be the key. And accountability and transparency. What I'm going to do, Masakunda, symbol of Masakunda symbol what near today, George Luther Masakunda is the Masakunda, meaning our long Masakunda Katamanyam, at the Koya Mobile, and Fremont Antarology, near Longo, at the Novo. That's the one Gambia Sifa. Gambia Mia Longo, Fremont Novo. So I can clarify more in the state house to Dulano. Yankata Dulano. In the Syrian Bada, do for no pain, about state house in Bada. Yabba Guinea Danta, what a Guinea Danta will do. It's a more than Mantara Balloon. It's a low limit of $150,000. What a meeting of market side. The Gambia must compete against the great democracies of the world to attract real investors. The new for the world to go Gambia, I think, there's a company, and there's a company. Putting a more so to many bills of Kupa Bank, and I suffer Gambia Bank. But in the end, you get a more than many are long, in other words, in other business. Not even criminal or many are long with Canada, at a state house, and in Masakunda symbol the Darby, who can come get a million time, your colleague at the Bank Polican, and who only came out where I told someone about putting on a military. We must preserve the sovereign assets of our nation. We must remain open for business, but allow the dangers of corruption and people-based criminality. What I'm going to do is to go for Mengbe Kering. Mengbe Kering, more than a business oriented. But in the end, I'm going to have a molto, many can I. Government is a service. It's a company that was sent to that. So in Tata election of 2026, in order to candidate already, many are young people and intervention for a president. I have put on the Banco and the Banco State House open. Even though temporary home for you have to some for you have to get for a father, I did tell. For you have to tell again a young okay, because Tamil can understand at the Tamil or I put you over and to telephone. But main internal Sepuma for Noy, what I'm going to go to water by. And you need what a day you have in Adoma, to Adoma, to see and read about. Senegal, but the Senegal woman, Uruna Frista Banco, Catamoroco, Malubari, one time I sent my daughter to Senegal. Malubari, location, and not with something opportunity, necessarily a direction of public affairs along the lines of labor and problem today, I can't have no baby in the neighborhood for living for a little in Masakunda as a sorrow, beyond the sorrow. Nafata will enter a bank. I don't know if will be a can, but I can't have the government can also be a dark in so, anything we can have become a normal thing. It becomes a long fitting in our water. But near for open second. And the new work at la responsibility. So in the absence of security and the business certainty that comes with it, the Gambia will continue to be left behind. I don't know who Tamaranga improve more day than a thousand today. Once a good guy man so good. Gambia man down to that, I did not over. So near the water carry, and another mobile for me, and then I get to Yanji, all the advertisers, the Banco Montana. And you love our I mean to what people will go. Silo. Kukotewe imani president of committee mansakunda Gambia banko diwoni economy te yakara from mansakunda e feel think carbon ni zaman na state ani ni tena ko do siya mansakunda tati ile ya ko diwoni to mela business kala mela kuka so ya ko diwoni to mo ni ya long ko fa even business or national unity bank kama kwa santa because money will be cancer will be they will take up attack on the way chica president of the land and the land of the room and the land when you buy it but time will be in a colony don't become and you can send people to and they open this work so now when people going to court but Nantata I will keep our against Nantata election on the 5th of December 2026 and the
thank you so much. National Unity Party in the speech will be available electronically for those who will participate. You can see thank you so much. Now we get to the person. Anyone that has a question can just raise your hand and I'll give you the mic.
So yes, sir. I think I am very. My voice is okay. No one's a teacher. I was always a teacher. So thank you so much. Should I use Dr. DARBOE or should I use council?
Whatever.
Because in the course they know you ask council.
Yes, it's okay.
So my question would be, as you take up this role as the flag bearer and then presidential contestant for 2026, we want you to outline some of your immediate priorities that you are setting for this party. Given the fact that you are just coming in new into the political landscape of this country, and how would you help to, win public confidence in voting for you? That would be my first question.
Okay, we'll deal with the first question. If you say, as a presidential contestant, yes. But I've been writing major articles about this country going back to 1992. In fact, in 1993, or early 1994, I warned the PPP government that the way it was going, unless it changed course, the government would be overthrown. Within 4 months, the government was overthrown. When the government was overthrown, I also wrote a major special forces provisional ruling council, telling them not to abuse governments. But at the end of the day, no matter how long it takes, their reign in government will be end. And we've seen what happened. We've seen what happened. We can make those articles available. So not to be in government as a minister or something like that, this is one thing. But understanding public affairs, understanding the direction of your country, that is the vision we lack in this country. Or is it because you believe so fervently that you own the country, you can do whatever you want to do? So that let it turn out to be a tragedy for President Jammeh. Unless, of course, the president changed course, you know, one day, whether he likes it or not, he'll be out of office. So no, outlining some of our priorities, that was what I did at the beginning of this speech. I consulted with other people, Gambians here and in the diaspora. But at the end of the day, the important thing is this, understanding what is happening. And like I said, with the resources of Saudi Arabia or the United Kingdom or the United States of America, there is no question. This country will not go anywhere without adhering to the rule of law, to proper governance. And that is why I concentrated on governance and the rule of law. For me, that is the priority. All these things will come automatically, you know, when we are in government, because we'll be committed to the rule of law and governance under law. So saying I'm going to build schools, when you go to Gunjur to build a school, the project is $100 million. You spend $2 million and still $98 million. What's the point? So really, the first point is, it's just like your son. You want him to be a pilot. You must first send him to school. Yeah. Otherwise, he will not become a pilot. Me, I concentrate on governance. I know what the people of this country want because I'm part of those people. But without governance, we are not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, I'll ask you. Of course, most of these political parties in town have different policies that they are trying to sell to the candidates. Now, we would want you to highlight some of the policies that you can introduce and how would they actually differ from most of these political parties in trying to address current realities of the Gambia.
Well, current realities, like I said, you see, you are looking at people saying, I'll build schools, I'll build hospitals, I'll do this and that. I am saying, without governance, you cannot do any of that. You bring 100 million into the country, they will steal all the money and not spend it on anything. Look at the Jahali Pajal projects. They've been around for almost 3 decades. Millions, billions of dollars is spent. Yes, it is the system. Because once you have no system, you cannot effect any change. It's not possible.
What major issue that continues to linger in the tongues of every Gambian is the cost of living, which is skyrocketing, and the current government, most Gambians are trying, seems not to be addressing some of those issues. Under your leadership, what do Gambians expect?
Well, what Gambians expect, now that you are talking about the cost of living, the cost of living is skyrocketing because we import almost everything in this country. Yeah, we import almost everything. And so the foundations of the economy are not that strong. If you import everything, you don't even have money. You don't have foreign currency to do those importations. Obviously, one thing's from the will be high. And if the rise is high, the market women will also raise the prices of their onions and things like that. So where do you start? You start at cutting corruption, encouraging production in the agricultural area. But of course we know that sometimes importers of rice would, see how they can influence. other people to ensure that the domestic production of rice is not particularly encouraged. Because if it is not encouraged, then obviously your earnings from importation would be very, very high at the detriment of the people of the country. Yes, so that is the fundamental. You can, it's not like people were not trying these projects. They've been around for a very long time. But where are we today? You know, where are we? Rice is, you know, about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, the bag of cement was just $50. Look at the price of cement today. It's because of the inflation. Yeah. And that inflation and everything is driven by the lack of governance, by the lack of openness, by the refusal to be transparent, by the leadership, the government of the country. Yeah. So governance is everything, leadership is everything. You must change the system, otherwise you are not going anywhere.
That's true. Yes. Yes.
No. My name is Lamin System, working with Gambia Journal. My question is there have been calls for exploration, and I was listening to Hanifa Salah during this interview with Pandey on Star FM. He is willing to engage in any coalition if the coalition would be focused on a system change rather than leadership change. And your deputy party leader, I don't know, I stand to be corrected, mentioned something like that. Is your party ready to be part of any coalition, even if you are not going to be the leader of that coalition? That's my question.
Well, absolutely. We will be, it depends. Because at the end of the day, yes, we want to be part of a coalition, but it's not going to be any coalition. Now, if it is a coalition headed by somebody who does not have the basic understanding of governance, obviously we'll have to consider our position. We're not going to support anybody who cannot rescue this country. It's not just going to be It's not just going to the state house. You have to demonstrate through your own credentials that you know what governance is all about, that you have the integrity to lead this government or this country out of the quagmire it was placed in since 1965. We didn't go anywhere since 1965. Yes, there were roads that were constructed. Yes, there were schools that were built. The university was built by my uncle, the professor, so he did very well in that area. But during the PPP regime, they didn't even consider it necessary for them to educate Gambians about what is going on in this country and other parts of the world. Because they've seen how education affected governance in Senegal. They just want to be sitting there doing nothing. And that was the PPP government. Yeah. If people don't know anything, they are not going to challenge you. Even television, we couldn't have it. So you have to demonstrate your credentials, that you understand what leadership is going all about, and you are willing to put in place a system that would put this country, not resource-wise, but in terms of governance, at par with countries as the United States. We can do it. If you don't have that capacity, well, you know, I cannot decide that alone. It will depend on the country. But we are going to be very, very ambitious in who we support about coalition. Because what Hanifa said, this is what I was saying, system change. You have to have the capacity to change the system. Did we change anything from Jammeh? No, we didn't. Jammeh and Barrow are different characters. They have different personalities. Yes. Barrow can be trenchant sometimes. He can say things, you know, to offend people because he said something that he didn't like. But there is no question that he's more humane, more tolerant. There is no question about that. So, but at the end of the day, you have to demonstrate you have the capacity to change the system. If you cannot change the system, we're not going to try this year. We're not going to risk following somebody.
Yes, it's okay. I'm Adam Fadera. I work for Mengbe Kering TV and Home Digital FM. He's our council. Anyway, Mr. Dabo, there are things we can do. Money account. You need to start at Maradum. Follow the Leo Linica. So, Melaf the Yo for a job in money account. Flanya Macalamendi. Nita Kara Gambia president. In a force quarter or force 100 days. Yammer Gambian police expect no priority. And then Flanya Medi, all in Indico, either Diamo, American model, Ebediam Kawana. America Jamajama, Fanafla Bedi, Democrats will be Republican will be. Link I regular Master, American model to my big Mariclinta, Democrats will number for Republican.
Well, Democrats and Republicans, yeah, many America understand. They can't understand that Democrats and Republicans, Nafata, different states, they've been killing. If they, Democrats and Republicans, they don't have the power, they don't have the doing. Democrats, when they start, can only go more do the kind of bank in the president will fire in a bank Republican only okay, they be killing it. There is no difference. Now, not a Femcora, the model killing the Mali of America. It's a limited government on the law. One of Masakunda Mia Long, Lua the Mali President of the Saturday, what? In a Lua the Bay killing it. Lua the Katamini, Lua and for the way. Nyana the coalition, I'm coming forward to what I'm going to go. Then I understand the President of the Mia don't come to power, I can assemble by the Babake. So obviously, not a Noka, what a more building at the time. But neither would a more Noka. It's not a young long call, you more than me are long I say Banco Sambama. 2016, I never wanted a Banco come back. Wotembo, honeymoon many are long with the Jamaica Priscilla. Because the minister here from the Million Sakunda. He could not hear him president command. There are cables to the door for suit or 2 o'clock command. You have to go and answer at the state. So only walk it at the Reka Munamira, we have been somebody mind to have been far. So, I mean, near what GB, what is sort of but at the end of the day, so me at the beginning of 2016, more than more coming from Mani rather than from Kamini. I had not been going to follow the sort of the so more than so, I mean, watching Bomban Mira who see Father. But being out on the moment of Masakunda, he paid a record. And after we can go back 40 years. Like I said, I've been writing about Gambian public affairs during 1992. So one in BGB, one how many years? Like 8 years, and in 25 years, 33 years. Sometimes you must have put that page follower. Jawara Lomba, Jamel Lomba, Adabaro Lomba, Mbe no. So come on, Chicadron cast in this state house. Jamal Kata State House.
When you go, you can be Washida Bessian. Need an priority area become force 100 days in office, whether force quarter.
So, 400 days in office. Masakunda Yelena completely. More they are no Masakunda Kenyani. Marriage experience money. But Masakunda department case suffer later on. A Taraje, Karisaba, Sandy killing, Yabane Java, woman and Nakala. So you open up government, you can feel your marble, you obey on the marble, Wokola, Yena program will ya make sure, who will program will your time and minister in Banco somebody. So until the first 100 days, the Kelamin, the one with a Banco governance, and being alone, many will around die.
Doctor, barrister and solicitor, we thank you for giving us this privilege. I am Elbas from The Voice. We've had your manifesto and it sounds very beautiful. Looking at some of the major areas that you talked about, governance and maintaining the rule of law. These are key areas, which is not 1 day dream, 2 years dream, or 3 years dream. It's a long process. Now, I would like to hear from your stand regarding the old gray hair who are in the circle of governance. How will you operate? Will you sweep everyone within the system and try to bring an antivirus to cleanse the system? Or how do you intend achieving that? In 1 year's
Mr. Bass, we will not be vindictive. That is what leadership is about. So there will be no vindictiveness. If you are within the working age, you continue to work in the government until you reach the retirement age. If within that period you are engaged in corruption and other things, we'll let the law take its course. But for me, I will not pursue anybody. Because people have their families, you have your family. So there is no point in using government power and authority to abuse it. I will not do that. I'm not even thinking about something like that. So it depends on how you yourself approach your work as a public servant of the government. Are you doing it for the best interest of the country, or are you one of those looters who steal millions and millions and millions every week? Because you have the opportunity to do that. Either through kickbacks in contracts, or signing contracts that are detrimental to the national interest of the Gambia, whatever it is. But me, I will not pursue anybody personally. I cannot do that. Because I know I have my family, other people have their families. This was something I warned Yaya Jammeh about in 1994. I said, if you consider somebody to be corrupt, do not include that person's family in your punishments, because they are not responsible for what their family member did. So those philosophies are at the core of my operations as a human being. Yeah. But you are talking about, being governance being a 1, 2, 3 year project. It is not. It's a 3 months project. We will open up government, and once government is opened, there will be no need for you to witch hunt anybody.
For the Gambia, our homeland, nyanto to our homeland. Foka Cairo ni nyato na fena na homeland. Ni bangkudi wo bangkudi yana domandike for home. Korom, yuruasina na land. For the Gambia, our homeland, nyanto to our homeland. Foka Cairo ni nyato na fena na homeland. Ni bangkudi wo bangkudi yana domandike for home. Korom, yuruasina na land.
Banco Moliwo
nga bunyima bale sudale bato kunko mi yalon ko bunkonol be fanoring kabirin salo lombang foladula bungol ando nyimbugo dum ye laaje pour holiday maker solo anim minu yalon ko nata ka wati sotun soto jang do ko la karola nyimbugol be mu air conditioner ti nata murum fanan nga wifi o soto je nyin kamala isela do ko keno ning internet ola wato do bela ni lafta katara nyimbumbal kono mi yalon ka bebe fonisre ne larangol bebe nyinyare fengo beba nyama isen commande no nin telephone ola le 717-9746 wala 581-7718 mbali damin wala mbato kunko sate konoti dami yalon ko korda kilindorong wala benin silabatema wala badi ngolu welcome to smiling course kato ko ite farana smile wobedi yala nyabaki EJ Farm and Borehole Drilling badingolu borehole signal siata banko kan bari EJ Farm nyinno borehole signal to mine yalon ko iko ngamming nganku nganna fengolu jibon ning gisanola andu tuludu mi la kulu dia ni lafta complete borehole la wala mnyenti ko jorangol min bebe dunna borehole ko ne tolle ba bekela mimbe tarlete kan wala mnyenti ko ni pareta iko ko ila pompoli yele gisanu e finde wala nita mari fanal lafta this is optional isela jorangol sang itol fangoy na ye borehole si ba nebe o borehole fanan sinna pipe ba mi yalon ko wala kata banko kono o katara wate itolle la karola wala EJ Farm anin borehole drilling nyinul nata kanda handi gisanu ngala fannala wala ni lafte komanda pure borehole sinye wala lafta kuja malo ne la nyinkuluto alinge komande nin telephone ola 717-9746 wala 581-7718 EJ Farm and borehole drilling a natale kajisanu ngodi yalla gam right mbatu ngana kibar kuto fale follow albe minkela albitala app store wala google play ale gam right la appo download ke ikafomi gam right wala hanibi asitano la website yotole www.gamright.com badi ngolo nyinne bantaba kuto londe kafomi app dame yalon ko enen drive folu senyo moy no jele nyem bantaba to ni register taje ibe driver jama'ata la register jele nyin kamala ni laftata la tamola andum ye nyin kemin kama wala mnyente ko tanko anin lannaya gam ride itolbe dame wala mbakote tipa garasti wala hanibi ise telephone nole +220 212-1699 wala 648-6660 wala 553-3578 ando nyindurato dum wala tol min bebe Gambia nyen digital jor langodo isa joro keno wala nen apoto wala nen drive for fangonata yakodo dum afango bolo han sayndron nata wevi sotalele jinkamala nen allafta special motor la mine yalon ko e balla dimbal sambala bengolto wala kala dindon samba karambongolto wala fale appointment on soto kata airport to nganyin service o be provide ale na airport wala drive folu na lafta register la al baby ta damin wolom na kunda bati mi yalon ko abe bakote tipa garage gam ride nyenna nata katamo sone andinye lanna ya kono anin tanko Jula Finance Money Transfer. Jumale mun toluti. Ntolle mu Jula Finance ti. Lanna ya be minna kuoto. Kalla kodulu transfer le Gambia Banko kam. Ando nga 5-star rating na soto Google. Nata kiliano soto karo bela. Mune ya sabu albe lalantolla. Kandu ko alla kodolo nka minki aliye kabo banku kata banku nka beki ni lankena molla na nyim platform andun tolka rate mindi wala mufalindati nyindun kata manyadile ka kodo ki ninjula finance la abe tare harine andun tanko ba koto ntolle mu jula finance lanna ya be minna koto kala kodolo transfer le Step 1 wala mkunya foloti na apo kochi ya jinde wala mka download andum fanam ya sign up nyinne mu step 2 ti add beneficiary kodo bitame ya woto safeje tombondiroke ilafta ka kodo kinyadile yo nyin kunya sabanjango nyinne mo akum fatu lati tombondiroke ibe kodo kila miye aba sotala nyadile ye murun ye jori nyake wala mu payment method wala lalda kafunfe ka sign up www.julafinance.com.
For the Gambia, our homeland, Nyanto to our homeland.